Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Welcome back, everybody. As you might be able to tell from the title of the video, we're going to be talking about Spanish. So we're going to be talking about Spanish. I titled the video America's First Language, and I know that Spanish wasn't the first language because the indigenous languages were the first languages. It was just clickbait. All the titles lately have been clickbait. Yeah, it's just to get
always
people...
clickbait.
Yeah.
We're like the New York Times. Our content is crap, but our clickbait titles keep you coming back.
Times. I knew that they've dipped their toe in crap. I didn't know that yeah.
They've gotten worse and worse and worse.
Anyway, so I wanted to talk, Alex, who will not be here tonight, he is the one who thought we should talk about language, Spanish specifically. But
language is a virus.
Okay.
It's a music reference I knew nobody
Mikey will get it. No.
I don't even know if he'll get that one.
I don't know.
Not his style of music.
But yeah, I want to let's talk about language, especially, a lot of people had a lot of opinions going into last night's Super Bowl halftime show, and the language around it. But I think that there's a bigger conversation to be had around language anyway. We don't have an official language in this country. That's a thing that most people don't know. And some people will say, well, since May, whatever, when Donald Trump executive ordered it, we have, but that's not how that works.
Executive order only
branch
applies to the executive branch of our government, and extended out to some the companies that work with it have contracts. So you can say you can only have a contract with us if you follow our rules. So by extension, some companies.
But ultimately, America does not have the United States does not have an official language, and United States of America.
United States of America.
We're the only United States that I'm aware of. But
you want to get technical? The United States of Mexico.
Mexico
is technically United States of Mexico, technically. Estados Unidos de Mexico.
Okay, so the United States of America.
I took Spanish for a couple of years and
USA. We don't have Lord Bacon the Destroyer is in the chat. That's Alex.
Lord Bacon in the chat.
Despite not easily understanding all the lyrics, the symbolism was great. But yeah, there's a reason why we have never had an official language in this country, and I think that it's worth talking about. I've heard multiple reasons as to why. I think that they all have some legitimacy to them. The ones that I've heard. The first one that I heard growing up was that the reason why they didn't establish a national official language, it was that so they understood that language is constantly shifting and changing, and so very really English is barely the same language as it was 250 years ago. And we've now spent more than a third of this country's history with mass communications, which slows down a lot of that change of language in separation of language. So if we hadn't had 100 years, 120 years of radio broadcasts and television and film, we would be even further away from British English, for example, than we are, and we would be almost two separate languages. But
yeah, it's like France and Canada. Quebecois, the Canadian French, is it's kind of like not quite, but kind of like Shakespearean English to our English, not quite Shakespearean, more like 18th century. Because it has stayed pure to old French, while France's French has evolved and grown more.
Absolutely,
because it's in the middle of Europe.
Language is constantly evolving, and so that's what I had been told. And I will say,
I don't believe in evolution. Maybe it's microevolution. Like in a conversation, it might evolve, but there's not macroevolution.
When you mention that, also Spanish is another one of those languages. If you learn Spanish as an English speaker in the United States,
I was envious that your microphone was showing you.
Mine's a big black one. Yours is like a kind of gray one. So, uh,
I'm old.
But when you learn Spanish in this country, at least as a second language, the way I learned it, and from what I know from a lot of other Spanish speakers or Spanish, I'm not a Spanish speaker. From other Spanish students,
Spanish as a second language
we
speakers.
learn Spain Spanish, and the you learn that like as opposed to Mexican and Central American and
So growing up in Brooklyn, I had a lot of Puerto Rican friends in school, so they took Spanish for the easy A, and we learned Castilian Spanish. And their teachers, and they were doing Spanglish. Really, they weren't like they didn't learn perfect Spanish at home with perfect grammar, and the teachers ripped them apart. And they would be so upset. They would get C's and sometimes fail and be so upset because how can you fail a language you speak?
Bobby, how did you fail?
Because they don't
English?
speak it the way the class speaks it. I know. That's why I always say, like, I failed English. Well, I never failed English, but people fail English too, so it's understandable.
So
but
that was the first reason I was told, and that's how I grew up thinking.
Well, and I would think the first reason would be at the time of the founding, English wasn't the only language. Florida, they spoke Spanish. In New York, they spoke Dutch because old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say.
That is what I was going to get to as the second thing that I was told that specifically Jefferson, and I could be wrong on that, but I was told specifically Jefferson wanted the regions to have their own languages. He thought that was a good system. He liked that like New Orleans and Louisiana spoke French or a version of French, and Florida was Spanish, and like that. It was he was modeling something European there, in his head at least.
Yeah, I think John Adams, was the one fighting for English because he was from New England. And then I guess it makes sense. I don't know if it was Jefferson, but it makes sense because to me it seems like it's a direct violation of the First Amendment. You have freedom of speech as long as it's
true.
English.
That's a great point.
It seems like that would be. It seems like the First Amendment says you don't have to speak a particular language. Like that's like the first part of it.
Ricochet Rita says another reference Michael doesn't get.
Oh, because you didn't react to my New York was once New Amsterdam reference. Do you know that reference? No. It's well, made famous in your lifetime by They Might Be Giants, though the song goes back to like the 50s or 60s. That's the lyrics of the song. You want some new Istanbul, Constantinople. It's Istanbul, not because in the line is even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it? We can't say people just liked it better that way. Istanbul or Constantinople.
I know the song. I didn't know that there was an Amsterdam part in there.
Long time
I don't know it. I don't know it from They Will Be Giants. I know it from Young Frankenstein.
Animaniacs.
Isn't it in Young Frankenstein? I am almost positive. Isn't that what he's doing on stage? When
no,
he's doing it on the Ritz.
Super Trooper on stage. But on the Ritz, Super Duper.
Sorry, mixed it up. But I do know that song. Your point about the freedom of freedom of speech, and then
freedom of speech, and then it's like it's hard to say you can't speak a particular language.
It's also
freedom of speech.
Having an official language, I think, is somewhat missing the point of language. Now, lots of countries have, and lots of countries lots of cultures and countries miss the point of language in general. About very much language is defined by a cultural hierarchy to some extent. Like there's the right way to speak English, and there's the poor way or the uneducated way.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitionally having an official language is an intentionally exclusionary and like nationalistic thing to do. Like, I mean, like it would have done in English because they were like, well, the Normans don't want you speaking this, and like French was the language in England when the Normans were in charge until the Saxons started rising back in power again.
And then when you look at American English, like let's say we actually took the Trump's executive order, made it an amendment, and made English the official language. Like English is not really a language as much as it is like it is a melting pot of other languages because it's Germanic and Latin, and that's before you get into the last century.
And
Like
Romance.
before you get into the last century, all that stuff was already in there. But then you get into all this, I like to go to the store and get salsa, and I want to, like, and we have all these things that have just by existing in cross cultural multiculturalism have affected our language.
Yeah, picture that. Yeah, like, well, the commissary in the White House can't serve salsa; they have to
Yes.
serve
Would you like some
sauce.
sauce and chips? No, no, thanks.
Oh,
Would
nope.
you? Would you like?
So you got to have your spaghetti noodles and well, I can't say spaghetti, can you? That's Spanish. That's Italian. Your long, thin noodles
Yeah.
made of wheat.
Would you like? Would you like some gravy and cheese curds on your French fries?
No, that would be Canadian. You
Yeah.
can't even serve that.
So,
Like, I would like a flat disc of dough with sauce and cheese
yeah.
on it, please.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah.
It's today. Today is National Disc of Dough with
I did not
sauce
know
and cheese
that.
on it day. I only know it because I went to Google and there was a big thing on Google. There's a
Oh,
big
that's
slice.
cool. A slice of disc with dough, disc of dough and sauce and cheese.
Of fermented dairy and crushed tomato on a starch plain.
Yeah.
Yummy.
And I think, again, like I said, we're missing the point of language. When if you're somebody who has learned anything about other languages, very quickly, it's funny when I'm doing Duolingo and I'm like, why did they make me guess the word that's not different? Like, they'll have a sentence and then they'll be like, I am having a hard time thinking of something, but it'll be like, I am Facebook friends with her. And then it'll be like, me, io sono blank amico, and it'll be like, Facebook? Like, I have to translate Facebook? Why wouldn't I translate amico or what are the other words? And you kind of go like, oh yeah, because there's so many words that that are crossed over because our cultures have bled together. Like we don't. It's not.
Yeah, I used to have that with my
Yeah.
French colleagues. Like they would say, what is the English word for, and then they'd say a French word that, like, yeah, we use that in English.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah,
word
and
we use.
Facebook is two words that both exist in Italian. They're not calling it faccia libra; they're calling it Facebook. And and so like we've gotten to that point where yes, there are separate languages, and I'm not going to deny that there are separate languages, but to have an official one just really seems like it's like an asinine pursuit. What are you looking up?
Yeah. I was looking for examples of French words that don't change.
No.
Because like because they would say like, well, I'm actually a literal example. Having lunch in a hotel buffet once in Paris. This freaks me out. I got beef bourguignon at lunch on a buffet, and my friend Ghislain said to me, he goes, Matthew, do they have beef burgundy in America? And I'm like, we don't call it beef burgundy. We call it bourguignon. Like he translated burgundy into burgundy. Like we call the wine burgundy, but we call the dish burgundy. And then I had to explain, we do, but never for lunch in a buffet. No. It's only in French restaurants, which are the fanciest, most expensive restaurants. And he's like, but why? I'm like, I don't know why. We just decided at some point that French food is expensive and fancy. That's the thing we do.
Yeah. I wonder if the words that we don't translate end up becoming becoming a symbol of status in that way, or if that's why we don't translate it. Like, because beef bourguignon.
But there's some like, if he's like, I keep my clothes in the how do you say bureau in English? It's in the bureau.
Dresser or bureau.
It just is,
They're kind of interchangeable.
It just is.
I didn't know the word dresser for a long time. I always thought it was a bureau, but yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, like,
but like then, so like some of those things seem like they are, like maybe it's because French has been
Like, you know, I would like to have a, how do you say, menage a trois? How do you say that in English, menage a trois?
Three-way. Good old-fashioned three-way.
I thought that was the road that you drive fast on. I was like,
Nice. Um, and I think about like a lot of those examples of like stuff that's not, not Facebook, like stuff that goes back a bit. And I wonder, like, salsa, is it just to distinguish it from other kinds of sauce? But like we don't do that with other kinds of sauce.
but probably because like we didn't have it for a
Yeah.
century, right? You know, we had it. Mexican restaurants served salsa with it. Oh, it's
Yeah.
you get salsa because it's, you know, Mexican restaurant. They call it, it's on the menu. It says salsa. You know, so you're getting salsa. Yeah, and then and it's funny then because I could watch an Italian cooking show and they refer to the tomato sauce as salsa
Yeah.
because it's the same word in the
Yeah.
language. This is, it's just for some reason where we translated tomato sauce to English, but not
Yeah.
salsa. But you know, I think it's, you know, the old Jerry Seinfeld because it's
Yeah.
fun to say
Yeah.
salsa.
Well, and when you get into like Italian, maybe Italian is specific on this. Maybe there's no other examples, but like prosciutto in Italian is ham, but prosciutto is a specific thing you can get here. And
Yeah, in Italian that'd be prosciutto
yeah,
di Parma is what we
yeah.
call
And
prosciutto.
then there's
That's a specific kind.
salami is pepperoni, like what we call pepperoni, they call salami, or a vice versa. And so they don't have like, I don't think they have the word pepperoni. I think they use the word.
They don't have pepper. I even like watch videos of
Yeah.
Italians trying to copy American pizza. They put different kinds of sauce to it. They don't have
Yeah.
pepperoni. They have other salamis
Yeah.
they put on.
So
Yeah.
pepperoni is like our version of a like gordita crunch from Taco Bell. Then is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Taco Bell's
Yeah.
doing its own thing linguistically. They're like, well, we don't feel right trying to sell this to you as an actual Mexican food product, so we're not going to name it after
So
actual
we
Mexican.
add ida
So we're
to
going to
the end
say,
of it.
what would Mountain Dew call it? And we're gonna it's the cheesy gordita crunch wrap supreme. And I respect Taco Bell for that. Like I've mentioned on occasion that Olive
But you can
Garden.
also, I mean, just to be more pessimistic for Taco Bell, you can't trademark the actual Spanish word. You make up a
Oh,
word, you
that's
can
fair, and
trademark
I
it.
didn't even think of that.
No one else can make, you know, the chalupa, I guess, whatever. I don't know which ones they made up and which ones they don't. Mexican food is not my go-to
Yeah,
cuisine. I always say I have never ever said to someone, "Hey, let's go get Mexican food," but I've never said no
yeah,
when someone has said, "Let's get Mexican food." I just never think of it as my
yeah.
go-to.
It hasn't really ever been a go-to for me until the last couple of years. Like I've always been down, but yeah, it's the same thing for me.
Yeah. Especially when we were at, you know, BMRU, it's up in North Durham where there's tons of great Mexican places and taquerias and stuff. And so we went all the time, but it was never my idea to go to. I always be like, oh, let's go to the pho
Yeah.
place, you know.
What was I going to say about Taco Bell? I had something else, but I forget.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
I would.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I didn't know what Taco Bell was. Beyond kids, 15 years old, there weren't any in
Yeah.
Brooklyn, you know, and probably not in Manhattan really was the thing. But they were in New York, they were in Long Island, all over the place apparently. Because I went like on a cross country tour as like
To
camp
Long
when I
Island,
was
yeah,
15.
as you do.
And you know what? A lot of the people on the tour
Oh,
were
okay.
from Long Island, and we were like went to Canada, and then we came down through the northwest states, you know, into California. And somewhere in California, we were near a Taco Bell, and the Long Island kids went fucking nuts. Oh my god, a Taco Bell! I haven't had a fucking Taco Bell in 2 weeks. I don't know fucking Taco Bell. And we're like, me and like my friend David is from Manhattan. We're like, what the fuck's a Taco Bell? Like we had no idea what they were talking, and it was early enough in the 80s that wasn't ubiquitous Yo quiero Taco Bell commercials yet. They really hadn't
Oh yeah.
like exploded all over the place like the way they had.
I think that Taco Bell though is probably the number one source for like bastardized Spanish in America. Because that Yo quiero Taco Bell, as far as I know, is somewhat correct in Spanish, but then you got the gordita and the chalupa and like
Yo quiero is
yeah,
just I want, right?
yeah. But I feel like that's like what that's what most non-Spanish speakers in America know about Spanish is Yo quiero Taco Bell and
Yeah.
no
I
habla
saw a great
inglés.
comedy sketch once. There was a comedy group in New York called the Burt Firstners. They were a sketch group. They were an improv. They were a sketch group born out of an improv troupe. Like
I
they
feel like
came
I've
up with a
heard of
sketch
them
show.
before.
They had a special on
Okay.
Comedy Central once. I mean, 25 years ago, which maybe you've seen a
Yeah.
rerun of it. But one of the scenes in their special was a husband and wife, and they're holding playing with the baby, and they're gonna do, and the baby looks up and goes, um, "Mama." Oh my god, our baby's talking. We're still a baby. Oh my god, our baby's the smartest person. Come here, come here, come here. And I go, "Mama." Because he said, "Mom." Oh my god, Papa. He said Papa to me. Like I said, "Mama and Papa, our baby's they're so proud. Oh, you still bring a baby." And the baby goes, "Taco." Remember we had tacos last week? Oh my god. She remembers we had tacos last week. You're so cute. Yo quiero taco. What? Yo quiero taco. Like it's just and then it's like a just a rambling off like a tirade of how angry the baby is because it wants tacos right now. Wait a second. Is this from your side of the family? No one on my side of the family speaks Spanish. This is from your side of the family. You probably got it from you.
Nice.
So, arguing over the Spanish speaking baby.
When Logan was little, he would call them Katos, and he always wanted Katos. Also, I told Alex this story, but Logan, little kids get lots of words wrong, right? So at one point, he was having me beat a Mario level for him, and it was like a tough one, and he was like yelling at me, and I'm like, "Calm down, it's chaotic. I can't keep doing this. It's chaotic." Because there, a bunch of stuff going on the screen. So for months, Logan would use whenever something was overwhelming, it's chaotic. It's chaotic. And I'm like, not chaotic. That sounds like intense.
That sounds like a really weird portmanteau. I don't like that one. So it's funny.
Portmanteau.
At some point, you get to where I am right now. Like I've been playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, and there's one um, element of the game where it's you meet random people who will teach you how to shoot a bow and arrow from horseback, but there's like just different levels of increasing difficulty obstacle courses to do that. And I'm like, it's not easy to do. There's never time in gameplay ever when you have to
Yeah.
do it, or when it's even logical to do it. This is stupid. I don't like it. I'm not doing it. I'm waiting for Jacob to come and visit us because he'll learn it in 5 minutes and he can beat the 10 places where it happens in the game so I can have more completionists. Like I'm at the point where my son comes and finishes
Nice.
with Batman Arkham Asylum. Like I can't do all the gliding through obstacle course stuff. Jacob, do that for me.
Nice.
So he learns the game and does it.
Nice. I want to talk more about
so halftime. I got something to tell you. So here's my thing about halftime. I'm an old man. And I don't know what a Bad Bunny is. I never heard of a Bad Bunny. I've never seen a Bad Bunny. I've never disciplined a Bad Bunny. Nothing about Bad Bunny until Bad Bunny was set, was scheduled
I knew
for the
about
Super
one
Bowl,
Bad Bunny
and people
before
went
that
nuts.
I think you would have known about. But it's not referred to as a Bad Bunny. It's referred to as just a little bunny. You know what I'm talking about? It's just a little bunny.
Not a bunny, it's a rabbit.
Is it a rabbit? Damn it.
It can leap. Look at the foams, man. Rabbit stew coming up. But this was, without a doubt, my favorite halftime show in as far as I can remember. I mean, maybe there was some I liked, but I have gotten used to the idea that I'm into bluegrass and I'm into some 80s rock. I don't expect the Super Bowl halftime show to cater to me. I'm like, it will never be the style of music I want. If it wasn't Mumford and Sons, there's not going to be bluegrass. Like if they didn't perform at the height of their popularity.
Imagine Wagons, as we like to refer to them.
Yeah. But this particular performance was not a little concert in the middle of a football game like all the other ones are, which makes no sense to me. It was, to me, the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, when the country's like, let us show you what our country is like through a musical and visual extravaganza. He did Puerto Rico in a musical extravaganza. And I mean, I grew up listening to opera, and not understanding it. Okay, that's a lie. I hate opera. But I grew up listening to all kinds of folk music from around the world and languages that my dad's friends, did Yiddish, they did Russian, they did Spanish, they did Ladino. I heard lots of different things that I didn't understand the words, but the song is the song, the emotion is the emotion. You don't need to know the words to listen to the music. And that combined with the amazing Broadway production values of that halftime show made it the most consistently interesting and entertaining halftime show I have ever seen. And as an old guy, I did cheer when I saw, hey, it's Ricky Martin. That's Ricky Martin. I recognize Ricky Martin. I know who Ricky Martin is. So I live La Vida Loca right there,
And
baby.
she bangs. Um, yeah, no, for full disclosure, we were driving back from the beach, so I didn't see the whole thing. I saw clips this morning, but I don't watch the Super Bowl sports at all, and I only watch the halftime show when I actually care about the artist, not. But it's
Yeah.
so
And
that's like two of the
for
last
anyone who's
six.
listening to the first time, I am from New York,
Yeah,
so I really didn't have a horse in the game. I was rooting for Seattle because the Patriots owner gives money to Trump, so fuck
yeah,
him. So by default, I was rooting for Seattle and was very happy that the Patriots looked like crap. Mike is from Patriot land. He's supposed to care about the Patriots. The reason he does not live in the Massachusetts and Boston area anymore is because he was deported because he did not watch football.
yeah, and it's because I didn't want really cold weather and snow.
Sure, sure. Keep you can try to tell
Yeah.
yourself that you weren't deported. You chose to leave.
Anyway, but what I think that the discourse around, I mean, first of all, it's been the discourse around the last like 3 or 4 at least. You know, Kendrick last year. I think it was Usher the year before. Maybe it was less so with Usher. Maybe because maybe Usher's like mainstream enough for long enough period of time that it wasn't a big deal. But like,
Was the Usher the one where it was like all the '90s rappers kind of came back?
yeah, I mean,
Or was that
no,
the
no,
year before?
that was Dr. Dre with Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent.
Yeah,
That
because I know that the right went crazy over
yeah,
that. Like, what the hell we listen to this kind of music for?
right.
Where's my
And they
music?
want it to be for football fans, and I kind of think that that's not the point of it. From a like, first of all, the people who are bitching consistently every single time are the people who are talking, who will tell you all about the free market and all that shit, right? And I'm pretty
Right.
confident that like what Bad Bunny brings to the Super Bowl is non-football fan viewers so that they can bolster, like if you're a football fan, you're going to watch.
No,
Or
well,
if your team is in it, you're going to watch, right? But if
what's really fun is in my house. I watch everything that goes. Usually not the halftime show. Frankly, this is the first time I've watched the entire halftime show. But I watch the everything. My wife and daughter are in the room the whole time on their phones until the commercial breaks,
yeah,
and I'm like, I have to tell them when there's a commercial break because they want to see every commercial. Leah watches some of the plays. If I get excited, she watches the instant
yeah,
replay. Well, they're just there completely for the
yeah,
commercials while I'm watching the game and the
yeah.
commercials.
And so like
If you check out Madhavi's Facebook page, it's all comments about the commercials. Like
nice.
she didn't, nothing. What a great play! There's none of
But
that.
like that's like the halftime show is helping to justify those ridiculous ad prices that everybody's paying to get into those. Like, yeah, the game is great for football fans, right? But like ultimately, what is it? Maybe half of all football fans will watch regardless of who's in. Maybe it's a little more than half. I don't know what the number is, but it's not everybody. But like,
I mean, football to me is the best sport for that. Frankly,
yeah,
like baseball, if you watch a game and you don't care who's playing, it's the most boring piece
true,
of shit in the
true.
world. That's like football. The plays are exciting to watch regardless who's
I
playing.
think basketball.
You won't get
I've
angry
been getting really into
because your
basketball
team's
because
not
of
losing.
Logan. Logan's playing basketball. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah,
sport's yeah,
I put football's my favorite to watch. Basketball is next. Hockey would be up there if they scored more than once a year.
yeah,
But like, yeah, the games that you don't, watching it's fun. Versus baseball is a game of suspense and stress,
right,
and it only suspenseful if you care who wins.
right. And but I just think that like I know that the NFL has put in a lot of work to try to broaden their fan base because they're doing what do they call when they send like the game the teams out for a game in England or Brazil or where they'll go do like it'll be the Patriots versus the Giants
Yeah,
in
exhibition games
yeah,
in different markets.
so
Yeah,
that they can like broaden their horizons. And the easiest way to get people viewing that aren't already football fans is the halftime show. And so you get like somebody who is, like Bad Bunny, who speaks who's singing in Spanish, which Spanish is probably fourth most popular language in the world.
Second in America.
Right, but also you're getting the majority of South America and Central America could speak Spanish, and
I mean, I don't know. China and India are really, really big countries.
right.
So there's more
That's
people in
what.
China than there are in all of South
Well,
America.
that's why I said
Yeah.
the fourth largest. So it's probably like English, Spanish, and French, and then Mandarin, maybe Cantonese. I don't know if Cantonese is as big as Mandarin, but and then what language does the average Indian person? Is it
English?
English? But isn't there
so
there's a
English and
bunch
Hindi are the national
Hindi, yeah.
languages, but there's 27 different languages,
Yeah.
and they're not similar. Like,
Yeah.
speaking one does not mean you speak the other.
Right.
Like the word potato, my wife, speaks two Indian, well, three if you count Hindi, but speaks two Indian languages. Potato is patata and aloo. Like they're not even similar. Like it's not even close. So yeah. So India's tough because if they were really 27 different kingdoms until England forced them together and said you're a country now. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I was right when I said fourth. Cool.
Yeah, you're
according to Google's AI, I was right. But that was just a guess. So English 1.5 billion, Mandarin Chinese is 1.1 to 1.2 billion. Hindi is 600 to 609 million, and Spanish is 550 to 560 million. And
it's a billion people in India, and only 60% actually speak Hindi.
And then you also probably want to look at okay, now when you look at the players playing the game,
that's what I pulled up the demographics of the NFL, and it's 50. What I found was 53.5% African American,
right,
25% white, non-Hispanic, and then it's everything else is a mix of different things.
Right. And I'm sure there's probably everybody's represented to some degree but if you have Spanish speaking performers, and then in the halftime show, and then you have there's probably a good amount of Hispanic people and Spanish speakers in football. Then compared to Mandarin speakers or Hindi speakers, right? So I don't know, but I would guess that there's probably more South Americans coming here and learning, coming here for
like you say, if it's just to entertain and get new people to watch, then if you did a giant Bollywood halftime show, that could be amazingly entertaining, even if you don't know language. I mean, and they would probably, if I would guess, they would probably jump between languages. They would do, 4 or 5 of the biggest languages, besides Hindi, as they went through, and English. They would probably mix them all together just to make it more exciting. But but you can definitely do that. Like I say, I grew up listening to worldwide folk music. You don't need to know the language to enjoy it, especially something as theatrical as this performance. Like watching them on stage in a concert might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but for this, it's certainly. I mean, people have been going to opera for centuries. They don't speak the German and the Italian that the opera is in. They go because the emotion is there.
Right. Also, NFL, if you're listening,
and frankly,
I know this is
your culture.
Bollywood is a Bollywood performance for halftime would be next level. It would get a whole new area of the world watching, right? But also the controversy, I think, is part of the selling point to some extent on a lot of this stuff, because
I would say, and it could be that the NFL, with the exception of the fucking Patriots, hate Trump, because Trump really hurt football back when the XFL tried to form, and he pushed to make it his way because he was an owner, and he destroyed that league. Like a lot of people lost a lot of money because of Trump, and I don't think they've ever forgotten that. And then Trump tried to get MAGA people to, boycott the NFL last time around. So they lost money from him again. So I will not be surprised if saying "fuck you, Trump" was part of why they had bad money.
Yeah, but also
not the only reason, but part of the reason.
Also, they they know that the boycotting in some ways works and in some ways doesn't work, right? Like you can organize certain kinds of boycotts. You're not going to get that group of people to really boycott the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's just
Well,
not
have you
going to
seen
happen.
there's a clip going around, and I assume it's real. It looks like it's real because it's crappy quality, and that makes me think it's real, of the Trump Super Bowl watch party. That's all, officials and politicians,
Yeah.
giant screens all around, and the Bad Bunny performance is playing on all the screens. Like they
Yeah.
didn't switch over to Kid Rock's lip syncing.
Bad. Like I at one point before it zoomed in on Kid Rock, I was like, "Oh, his voice is kind of held up. It sounds exactly like it did when I was in high school." And I'm like, "Oh, because it's the recording from when I was in high school." Like he wasn't like it wasn't not a new track. It was like
Yeah, he was playing the album.
like he's a 55-year-old man who
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure smokes, and like his voice sounds like he's
What
like it
was
did
really
20.
weird is we had the window open just for a little cool airing because we were a little overheated, and I could hear Jamie Lynn Spears screaming in anguish when it was happening, along with the surviving member of Milli Vanilli. Uh,
It wasn't Jamie Lynn Spears. You got the wrong
is
sister.
it wrong? I just googled what's Britney
It was
Spears'
It was
sister's name.
It was Jessica Simpson's sister, Ashley Simpson.
Wrong bitch. I don't know. I don't know them. I don't listen to music. I know country music. I don't even country. I know old country music, not the fucking jingoistic shit. And I know bluegrass.
Yeah.
Damn it! Don't ruin
The
my jokes,
the
bad pop
jingoistic
musician
shit is
families.
it's so I grew up on 90s country, and there's a bit of 90s country that I think could go both ways, but like a lot of today's country is like really like you said jingoistic, or even if it's not directly, like the people are like, you've got Jason
It's
Aldean,
Toby
try
Keith
that.
changed it, like the shift of the
Yeah.
Toby Keith style song.
But then when you go back and you look, like there's the clips of Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson, and they're like, "Well, a woman could be a good president. Why, like they're just talking about like
Yeah, or Willie
common,
Nelson, who's super liberal,
yeah,
like,
yep." And they're
because if you were a good musician, especially a good singer songwriter, you have to be able to, empathize with people, and it's hard to be a piece of shit conservative when you have empathy. It's hard to be a good talent when you don't.
yeah. Well, and you're right about Toby Keith brought the conservatism directly into it. I think he is like a huge part of it with like capitalizing off of 9/11 and like we'll put a boot in your ass, but also like at the same time as him. And I don't think that Kenny Chesney is a bad person, but Kenny Chesney ruined country music as far as I'm concerned by making it all about beer. And by doing that, you don't need to have talented storytelling like you did in the 90s and before.
Yeah,
Like you listen to old Garth Brooks. Old Garth Brooks
Garth Brooks is
songs
great.
the
Great.
songs are stories, and
Dwight Yoakam, Garth
yeah,
Brooks, they were great. I mean, they were a little late in my era
yeah.
of listening to country, but they were still they were great.
You listen to
I
that
think
90s stuff, but
the
then
pacification of country is when they went from singing about whiskey to singing about beer. What the
sure,
hell? Look at
but
wimpy
also
drink is beer
it
versus
was
whiskey.
it was when like Kenny Chesney came in with his Summerfest, which ran for it may still be running. It's 20 something years in, but it was like let's make country into Jimmy Buffett. I don't have a problem with Jimmy Buffett, but like country as a genre didn't need to become Jimmy Buffett in the like I got a beer. And I know that's not Jimmy Buffett, but like
I
that's what
know.
it
I think it's
became.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Buffett didn't even drink beer. He was doing like and then tequila, margaritas.
Have you ever seen there's a stand up and he talks about, and I'm forgetting who it is. I want to say maybe it's Sam Morril, but I could be wrong. And it's uh he talks about that the fact that Margaritaville is the saddest song in the world if you listen to it with what Margaritaville now is as a place
That's
in
his
your
chain.
head, the chain of restaurants. It's like wasting away again in Margaritaville, my lost shaker of
You're in this
salt.
disgusting corporate touristy bar.
Yeah, and he's like, the way he wrote it isn't that bad, that depressing of a song, but when you put it
Well,
into
I mean,
the
it's
modern,
supposed to be a depressing song. He's basically
yeah,
saying, "I'm just crawled into the bottom of a bottle." I mean, he's
sure.
drinking
But it's
margaritas
so
because
much
he's on the
worse when you
beach.
think about him being in
Yeah.
like Myrtle Beach, Margaritaville, just getting shit faced. All right. So yeah. I think that the point of bringing in Bad Bunny is, he's apparently one of the most popular musicians in the world. I actually know him better from non-music stuff because he's been on SNL a bunch. He's great on SNL, by the way. He was in the new the not Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore sequel, and he was great in that. So like I know him from his acting, which is weird. I've actually seen, I think I saw every movie he was in this year, not because he was in them, but he's he's great. But like then you look at the fact that he's this huge deal, and it's the NFL is trying to make money, and I don't like the NFL in a lot of ways. I think that they're doing a lot of bad stuff, but like hiring popular musicians isn't it. And also like Bad Bunny is
So I'm just scrolling through the Grammys. He's won like 6 Grammys and been nominated for another half dozen that he didn't win. Yeah, seems like
yeah.
a popular enough artist to be deserve a
Yeah.
show.
He also like it's funny because like yes, he has had some political outspokenness, but nothing like terribly controversial other than like I don't want he 6 months to a year ago was talking about how he was not going to do shows in the United States, proper or whatever,
Continental United States.
continental United States because of not wanting his fans to worry about ICE raids.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's had little, I mean, I
But
want to say
that's not even being political. That's being realistic. Like, I'm not
right,
going to sell out if no one wants to come
right.
to my show.
Well, and I think that it's also as much, worry about the safety, but you're right. It's not
Yeah.
political.
I
Like
mean, it
that
could be
isn't
political, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be,
exact. Yeah.
like we told our landscaper, hey, your crew is Latino. If you guys don't feel safe coming this month
Yeah.
when ICE is in town, don't come this month. We'll let the grass
Yeah.
grow. We don't want you
Yeah.
guys in any danger.
No.
It's not a political statement. That's we don't want them in danger.
Yeah. I actually, before Alex mentioned about the language, Spanish specifically, as a topic for tonight, I thought about like, let's talk about the fact that everything is political because I've been seeing some people posting stuff lately about like, don't trust people who make politics their whole personality and how like politics is, like why is everything political? It's like,
But
like,
I think it's because
not
political
for us so
became
much.
morality and ethics instead of politics. And that's
Fair,
why
fair,
everything's political, because politics isn't politics anymore. It's ethics now.
fair.
Yeah.
But like, and for you and me, as
Like, I'm not
take our
arguing tax theory, tax rates,
no.
and zoning issues.
Right. You take our, your family and to some extent my family out of the situation, and like we're white guys, we're not affected by it. So we have that privilege to be apolitical to some extent. But like when you look at like Bad Bunny showing up was controversial because of who he is. That is like
Because he's
even if
a
he hadn't
natural born American. His parents were natural born Americans.
yeah. Yeah.
So
I
how
don't
much of
mean
the
it in a
social media saying deport Bad Bunny, which is going on today, do you think is real versus what percentage is bots and people being purposely saying shit to stir things up, knowing that he's American and not really believing he should be deported back to America?
I don't know. I
I saw
genuinely don't
one of
know.
my favorite things I saw recently. I saw a TikTok from Steve Hofstetler, who is
Yeah.
Joseph's favorite comic these days because he's so anti-Trump, saying, "Hey, he goes, he goes, I need to apologize. I didn't get the issue with Bad Bunny until I looked into it more. Now I get it. I I, I did the research and I saw that he's from Puerto Rico and the president of Puerto Rico is a pedophile, and I get it. The president of Puerto Rico is a pedophile, and that is an issue. We shouldn't be celebrating that. So yeah, spread the word. The president of Puerto Rico is a pedophile.
Yeah. I shared something. It was a woman talking about how Bad Bunny is ineligible to be president of the United States, and so like she's 100% on, like on the side of like admitting outright that Bad Bunny is not eligible to be president of the United States because the Constitution very clearly says you have to be 35 years old, and he is 31 years old. And like and I think that there is, like his existence is political, like him getting picked. So like that's what I thought about that. And I was like, that is something that I think we need to talk about. And we can just make this a half and half episode. But like ultimately there, look at the little boy. I'm sorry that I forgot the little boy's name, but the little boy that was used by ICE to grab his parents, and then they grabbed him with the blue hat on, I think. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, in Minnesota?
Yes. The 5-year-old boy.
Yeah. Like that kid isn't political, but he was made political. Like that kid just exists. He's not being political. Liam Ramos. Is that the one that was on stage
No,
with?
the rumor was that it was him, but it was not. It was an actor or something.
I knew that, but I was wondering if you were using the wrong name, because I think
Liam Ramos is who that the rumor was. Oh, it was Liam Ramos. It was Liam Ramos, and then it wasn't. It was someone else.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But like, everything, this idea that we have this privilege of not having things be political. I would love to go back to a time where your generic racial makeup is not a political stance. Like we as white guys get to have that, but like, like Bad Bunny ultimately was, he's an American who does speak English. Like maybe he's not as cool. He has
I
he has
haven't
an
heard
accent.
him speak. How well does he speak? I
saw
asked this not as a racist. I asked this because people I knew when I was like in New York, when I meet someone who is visiting from Puerto Rico, they usually almost had British accents. Because like we said, we learned Castilian when we learned in high school. They learned English in school, and they learned it very, very proper. It's like whenever I met Puerto Rican tourists, their English was better than mine. Like you would think they were British tourists. Like sometimes you meet Indians who have British accents because they learned so properly.
Yeah.
I've met many Puerto Ricans like that, where they speak better than I do because they learned it in school. They learned it properly.
The bits that I've seen him speak English, he's speaking fine. He has a thick accent, but he's speaking fine.
Is his accent thicker or less thick than Gerardo's?
I don't know.
You don't know who Gerardo is? Oh my god, dude! Oh man. Okay, later I'll send you a link. You're a rap guy. You should love Gerardo. He was the first big, like before Ricky Martin. Gerardo was like the first Latino hip hop star that I was aware of. Like he rapped in Spanglish, like half Spanish, half English rap. It was good.
It was before Rico Suave.
It was Rico Suave. Gerardo, he sang Rico Suave. That was his song, Rico Suave.
I thought that was the guy's name. I didn't realize that.
No, that means like suave.
I thought it was a guy named Rico.
No,
Rico.
The song.
Rico is, that could easily be a stage name.
It could be a stage name. You're right. It could be. It's a good point. It could be. No, yeah. So it's Gerardo.
Then I do know Rico Suave. Well, I've never heard other than that song. I don't know what is.
It was his only hit. It was a one-hit wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking versus singing, like accents.
Yeah, it's like when he's talking, he's like, your mother ain't made a guy like me. He's got a very. I mean, he may be a put on, but he's got a very thick accent when in the English parts of the song. Oh, Rico.
All right.
Suave.
Well, yeah,
Rico.
Okay, then I'm glad that I didn't completely fail the test.
No, you just didn't know the guy's name. That's good. You know the song. That's more important.
I didn't know the Monkees reference. I didn't know.
Nobody knew the Monkees reference. I was so sad. But that's Cherry Butt. You still on? So Cherry Butt here. This was before we talked. I did a video shoot this weekend, and one of the actors kept mispronouncing furthermore. He was like mixing it to the next name. It was like his line was furthermore, Mr. Hall, and he kept saying further Hall, like he was banging his head against the table. He was so upset he kept saying further Hall. So I said, Cherry Butt, can you guess what I said? Can you guess, Cherry Butt? I said zilch. Never mind the furthermore, the plea is self-defense. Never mind the furthermore, the plea is self-defense. And nobody out of the 20 people in the room, cast and crew, nobody got the reference. I was very upset. Would you have gotten it, Cherry Butt? I will watch the chat for your answer.
I have just, I have watched the Monkees TV show, but I was a very little.
Yeah, I don't know that zilch was ever in any of the episodes. I think, like we kind of said before, I think it was them screwing around with tongue twisters. It's like I think they're like it's 4 different tongue twisters put together. I think they're probably just monkeying around, like you said, and decided to record it. I feel I get that vibe from it.
Yeah. All right, let's we've been on going for almost an hour. Let's start to wrap things up. Do you
When
have
we
any
already
last
wrapped, we
thoughts
did
before we
Gerardo.
yeah.
Rico.
Rico.
Suave.
Suave.
Cool. When you do the
Yeah.
edit, you can put those over each other so it's like perfectly together.
Yeah. I probably won't, but I could. All right. Yeah. You have any last thoughts on the subject before we start the Patreon spiel?
I do want to say that, you know, the old joke that if you in Europe, if you speak 3 languages, you are educated. If you speak 2 languages, you are literate. If you speak 1 language, you are an American tourist.
Yep, that's good. I had not heard that before, but it's a good one.
I have a lot of French friends.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like now that you said it, let's get back into that for a second, because one of the things that like Americans this I'm going to describe a group of Americans, and it's the same group for these two different things. The people who want everyone that comes here to speak English also want to go everywhere else and have everyone speak English to
The
them.
ugly
Like,
Americans.
yeah, the ones who were like, "Hey, where's the McDonald's around here?" And you're like, "We're in Rome, sir."
I will say that when I was in England, I think like after 4 days in London, the food was so rotten everywhere that we went on my set tour where we didn't have free range of where we went. So I'm not saying
Yeah,
England is like, and 1985 was that bad, just where we went as a tour of 30 teenagers. When we had free time, my friend David and I got in a cab and said, take us to McDonald's.
I'm not hating on that. England, like, but I have an uncle who, and that accent is not my uncle's accent. But when I went to Italy the first time in 2009 with my aunt and uncle
Because they
and
treat you like
their
family
3
there.
kids, and then we had a couple of my grandfather's sisters brought us all. Um, we had been in we had been in Italy for about a week, and we're in Rome. And he goes, "I'm taking the kids to McDonald's. We need something normal." And I was like, first of all, it's Italy. It's not like England. I would get it, right?
Right.
But then what they got for
Like
lunch
I
was
yell at my French
McDonald's.
friends, why did you go to McDonald's? There's McDonald's in Lyon. You got it's
Yeah,
packed. Why is it packed? I don't understand.
yeah. But when so me and the 2 great aunts go to a cafe, and the rest of them go to McDonald's, and they're like, the kids just need normal food. We go and we order ham and cheese paninis, which are ham and
Really?
cheese
Did you just say
sandwiches.
that? Did you put an S at the end of the word panini? What kind of Italian are you? Panini's plural.
In Italian, it
In
is,
any
but I'm
language it
speaking
is.
English.
It's pane, P-A-N-N-E is singular. Panini is
Panino, yeah,
plural. I thought you
yeah.
were learning Spanish. Duolingo is failing you.
Learning
I mean,
Italian.
sorry, you're learning Italian. Duolingo is failing you. I'm not learning it. I don't need to know.
But yeah, there's
So
that
that's when
group
the restaurant
of
loses points with me if it says paninis on the menu board with an S. I'm like, you've just lost points.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
real quick, on that same trip to Europe when I was 18, we were in um, Switzerland. I think it's when we were in Zermatt, but it could have been Geneva. And there was a billboard for McDonald's with Chinese food. And our tour guide had told us there's this one McDonald's that is test marketing Chinese food. And she was like really tickled by it because she's like, we're very conservative. We don't do new things. So it's very weird to test it here of all places. And
yeah,
and
agreed.
yeah, so but and there's like a bus stop size billboard, not a full billboard, but like a bus stop size sign. And my friend
Yeah,
David and I are David's like 15, I'm 18. We're standing next to it, and we're like, we got to find where this is. Like, there's an address, but we don't know where the hell we are. We just got our free time. And I'm going to do an accent, and I don't mean to be offensive, but the story does not work without the guy's accent. This black guy is walking towards us, and we stop him. And David and I are schmucks. We don't speak English. I mean, we speak English a little. We don't speak French or German, but we're in Switzerland. And our tour guide, one of the guides, was a French major, and he had given us some tips. So we're like pointing at McDonald's. We're like, "Ooh ah, McDonald's." And guy looks at us like we're nuts. I'm like, "Ooh, McDonald's." So point at the sign. And he goes, "You guys want to go to McDonald's?" He was from Chicago. And he had moved to Switzerland, and then he walked us to McDonald's, and we hanging out with him and had a great time.
That accent was not at all as bad as I thought we were going to get from
I
that.
know the
And that
setting up the joke doesn't work as funny unless I set it up that way.
I I as a point tried not to order anything that wasn't Italian specific. Like, and I know you can get kind of samey that way, and especially someone who doesn't eat
Yeah,
fish,
me
and
too.
there's like a lot of, but like there was still a lot of
Well, for me,
options. Like, and so like,
entrees, we were on a lot of set meals because we were a tour group, and it was usually like,
yeah,
here's a chicken cutlet, yay. But the
hmm
pasta course was different every time. And I was with all
hmm
these, this tour, my tour was one third males and two-thirds female, and the girls were all on diets and they didn't want to eat that much pasta. So the girls would be passing me their pasta. So I'd be have like 4 half plates. Like they eat like half the pasta, and I'd eat mine and then like all theirs. And in one place, they were just serving ravioli like from a tray going around the table. And by the time he did the round, I had 3 half bowls in front of me, one. So they came back and they were just feeding me more. I went back to the kitchen and got more, and everyone else is eating the chicken cutlet, and I'm just eating ravioli. And the chef came out to meet me. I was 18. I was a
nice.
bottomless pit. I was just eating all the ravioli he can churn out.
I actually, now that you mention it, I want to bring up another last thought because it starts off from that. But like, I was in. I think I've told this story before, but I was at a family event or family dinner in Italy. The Italy family doesn't speak English. We don't speak Italian, but we have like two aunts that can translate for everybody. But there's 20 of us, so like it's slow translating. And I'm getting served my second bowl of pasta, and I'm like, how do I say enough? How do I say enough? And the Italians are like,
We don't
enough,
have that
enough.
word.
And and finally I'm like
No
I'm
mas.
interrupting the I'm interrupting the translator the in my family, and I'm like, how do I say enough? And she goes, basta, and they all go, basta, enough, basta, and they start like teasing me about it, right? And but there was this great thing not just with family, but very much with family too, where and this is to our language topic of the show, is that like when being in Italy, there was and I'm sure there was an extent to which this would have been stretched and ruined if I had been like a real asshole about it, but there is a desire to communicate that was so strong that like you you're not having conversations, but like at one point we're walking behind or we're walking ahead of the two translating aunts, and it's me and another is my grandfather's cousin, so he's a 60 or 70-year-old man, and he doesn't speak a word of English, and so he's trying to find out about me. I'm 25, and he goes, Marito, or what, Marito, and he points, or he says it, and I don't understand, and then he points at his ring, and I said, no, only 25, and he goes, 25, and I was like, 25, and he goes, 25, and like, and we were able to
Peter in
go back and
Spanish, and he's
forth,
close
and it's
enough to
because
Italian that he
there's
could figure out what you were trying to say.
yeah, but there's also like such a generosity of spirit of like, we don't need, like, there are certain things you can communicate with another person that you don't necessarily need to have a language in common. And if we could learn that, that would be great. And there's plenty of Americans who know that and would be, do the same thing. And I worked retail, so I sometimes helped people who didn't speak English, and I would try to reflect that same generosity of spirit, and just be like, we're gonna get through this, like, we're gonna be able to figure this out. But it's something that, like, when you have that chip on your shoulder about, this is America, speak American, damn it, like, we're not doing, not only are we not helping other people, but we're not helping ourselves in enriching our culture by, like, that was one of my fond memories of being in Italy, is that the people were so warm when they didn't understand a word I was
Hmm.
saying. And and that was a lot of that was family, but there was a fair amount of incidents similar to that where it was not family,
So,
and it was
France has a reputation for being rude, but that's Paris. Because everywhere else I was in France, I had the same thing. Like, for storekeepers and especially in smaller places that aren't touristy, so they don't automatically speak English. And even in Paris, I was in one sandwich shop where the guy didn't speak English. There's a little hole in the wall. And the guy, it was so wonderful trying to explain to me that, I get a salad with that. Go back and get a side salad. And, it's like a little, bodega. And people are wonderful about it. If you're making an honest effort, they'll make an honest effort. Yeah.
Right.
I did have a moment in Italy where I was craving mushroom pizza, and I went looking down the English side of the menu and found mushroom pizza, and looked over the Italian side to order, and I'm like, pizza alla fungi? I can't order pizza alla fungi. I don't want a fungus pizza.
I ordered buffalo. I ordered
when I said buffalo in France, or an Italian restaurant in France, buffalo mozzarella, they fucking laughed me out of the restaurant. They were like, buffalo instead of buffalo. They were so mad at me.
I ordered like at 3 nights in a row, I ordered something that had buffalo in it. And this is how dumb 25-year-old Mike was. Third night, my plate comes and I'm like, looks good, but it doesn't look like what I thought I was getting. And I don't even know if I said it out loud. My aunt goes, you keep ordering that. What do you think you're going to get? And I was like, buffalo chicken, like buffalo sauce.
Buffalo and she goes, milk, mozzarella.
She goes, the cheese is made from milk from a buffalo. And I'm like, oh.
I knew what I was trying to order. I just didn't pronounce it the way they did, so they were laughing at me for my pronunciation. I knew I was ordering a buffalo cheese pizza. But of course, I wasn't 25. This was like 8 years ago, my first, in France. This was recent, relatively. Yeah.
No. This was, for me, this was, 25 still old enough too old to be making that mistake, but yeah. Anyway,
let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Si estás viendo esto al YouTube, suscríbete, activa las notificaciones, dale me gusta al video y deja un comentario. Nos ayuda mucho y no cuesta nada. No será tan descarado como para pedir dinero.
Let's see, and I'll do it in Italian. No.
If you've ever seen a video on YouTube, you know what I just said.
Yeah. And I don't know how to say if you want to give us money. Soldi is money, but in Italian, in
dinero,
if you want to give us money, if you want dinero, well, is dinero money or is it
dollar? Is dollar. There's dolores and there's pesos and pesados, but dinero is money.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a long time, and now because I have like a long history of Spanish, and I have like several years of Italian now. Like I do
growing
get
up
some
in an
things
Italian
confused.
restaurant, and then having gone to Italy right before college, and I went to Spanish class at NC State. I cannot say gracias. I only say grazie. I couldn't say adios. I said ciao. See. And I said like buongiorno instead of buenos dias. It was just because they were natural things. I said them so often. And my Spanish teacher was like, said, it's fine. He goes, everyone would know what you meant. I'm fine with it. Like you say grazie instead of gracias. I'm fine. And I'm like, it's not that I don't know they're different. It's just that I say grazie for the last 10 years as a normal word. I say ciao not to be pretentious, but just because I grew up in an Italian restaurant with my best friend's father from Sicily.
Yeah. But if you're wanting to support the show in a way that is more than just ringing the Taco Bell, you can also go on our Patreon at patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. We have 4 options there for you. There's a $0 option, which just gets you the show as usual, but through there, and it helps us. $1 obviously helps us because we get $1 a month. And it helps you because you get the show early. $3, you get the show early with some extra stuff, and $10, you get the show early with the extra stuff, plus that like bonus. Most of the time, it's like 15 minutes now at the beginning where Matthew, Alex, and I shoot the shit. And a lot of times it is vaguely related to the episode, because we're warming up and we're being like, no, save that, no, save that for the episode. But we do have some little bits and pieces there. And yeah, you should check that out. And it's patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. Alex and I have a new podcast as of October.
A not new podcast.
Cinnamon. And Alex and I have been working on a short film. Matthew is the voiceover of the
I
Doctor.
4 lines.
Yeah, well, it's going to be more.
4 lines in the
and we
proof
released
of concept video. We'll see what the final script says.
Yeah, we did a proof of concept video, which I will link below in the show notes, because people are liking that. And yeah. All right, so we
I will say that in my
next
Spanish,
week.
I said I would not be rude enough to ask for money just because I knew you would.
Sweet. But you used Google Translate.
I certainly did. So it probably wasn't perfect translation. It's not the best translating program, but yeah.
Good. Well, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that
I certainly would not have rapid fired my Spanish that fast.
Hola, una pregunta.
I used to be good at restaurant Spanish when I worked in restaurants, but I were actually trying to explain to the kitchen crew at the restaurant I worked in that I was ordering different soft foods to take home to my grandfather who I was living with, and they asked me how old he was, and I said, mi abuelo tiene 100 años, and they went, no, ciento, and I'm like, sí, 100 años, and they're like, no, I'm like, oh, sorry, I said 99 años, and they were like, no, not 99. I'm like, sí, 99, and they're like, no, I'm like, ciento menos uno, and they went, oh, 99? Like they just couldn't believe that he was 99. They thought I was just saying it wrong until I did 100 minus 1. They go, oh, you're not saying it wrong. He's 99. And then they started, and it was an Italian restaurant. I kept getting Italian things that are soft because he had like no teeth left for him. And it was things he never had, like stuffed mushrooms, things he never had in his life. And then the guys started making, they were Ecuadorian, most of the kitchen staff, and they started making these Ecuadorian dishes from my grandfather, like they made special for him. So he was like eating foods he never had in his life at 99. It was very cool.
I know it's not language related, but like food is like, if you're going to be a racist,
you don't get to go to Taco Bell.
You're just you're cutting yourself off from all this amazing food. And as a fat guy, that's where I'm motivated,
Oh, so there was one great commercial, just real fast. There were some good commercials during the Super Bowl, but one was, it was just like this young Latino family with like a teenage girl, adolescent maybe, moving to a better neighborhood, quote unquote, right? Like a suburban neighborhood. And I guess she's upset, and like the father is like trying to talk to the neighbor, and the neighbor's giving him, just blowing him off because he's Latino. The girl like sees another teenage girl who like kind of ignores her because she's Latino, and like doesn't want to, what if I can't speak to her, kind of awkwardness. And then the girl's teenage, the white girl's dog runs away, and the Latino girl finds the dog, and there's a storm, and the dog runs away because there's a storm, and a branch falls blocking the racist guy's driveway. So the last scene is that the girl finds the dog and brings it to the home of this teenage girl who's in tears, and she hugs her. And then it cuts to the Latino guy, her dad, with a chainsaw, killing the neighbor. I mean, cutting the branches that fell in front of the neighbor's driveway and clearing the driveway for him. And the neighbor's an older guy, and he's looking out the window and seeing this guy doing this for him after he was an asshole to him. And then it's like, we're like, what are they selling? And it's like Redfin mortgages. And we're like, this was just a commercial saying, don't be a racist asshole. And you can get a mortgage and live.
Also, like Redfin's very, very close to Redline, right? Which is weird.
It was so funny that the commercial was just, look at these people who are racist, and then realize what great neighbors they had. And it was also saying, you can move up to a different neighborhood, use our mortgages. But it was like, we were just like, oh, this is a great commercial. It's just, don't be racist, Trump. Like, that's all this commercial is.
Yeah. I want to just say one
you're
last
editing
thing.
it. You could put it before the
like ninth last thing. True. It's amazing to me how many unfuckable losers get to be racists, because it feels like why are you shutting down the amount of like
No, but they
people
would still
in
sleep. They
your
would still
dating pool?
sleep with, date. Same way
True,
that
true, true.
misogynists still marry women and then abuse them. I mean, JD Vance.
Fair. Okay,
Like,
fair.
you can be racist and still marry someone of a different race because you make an exception in your head, but you also think your wife's inferior to you anyway. So what's the difference if it's also racially?
True.
That's the GOP
Okay, I take it
platform.
back. All
All right,
right. Do you have
last
any
letters.
last
Thank you so
thoughts
much
before
for
we?
staying with us to talk about the big stuff in what when blah. Thank you for staying with us to talk about the big stuff in whatever language you had the translation set to.